Sometimes, in a big investigation, it all comes down to one thing. Just one piece of evidence that changes everything. And in the case of 11-year-old Carly Brucia, that one thing was a really grainy security video. A video that not only showed the last moment she was ever free, but it also unmasked a killer who was hiding in plain sight. So, let's set the scene. It's January 31st, 2004. Just a normal Saturday evening in Sarasota, Florida. Carly had been at a sleepover, said goodbye to her friend, and started the short walk home. A walk she'd probably taken 100 times before. Only this time, she wouldn't make it. And just like that, what started as that little knot of worry in a mother's stomach, it just exploded into a complete nightmare, not just for her family, but for the whole community. Okay, so Carly leaves her friend's house right around 6 p.m. The walk should have taken, a few minutes? But she never walked through the door. As that feeling of dread started to creep in, her mom asked Carly's stepfather, Steve, to go look for her. But nothing. He couldn't find a single trace of her. And you can just imagine how the panic starts to set in, right? Minutes feel like hours, and soon those minutes did turn into hours. The search got bigger and more frantic, but with every tick of the clock and still no sign of Carly, that panic just got deeper and deeper. By 7:30, the police were involved. They searched her entire route for 4 long, agonizing hours, and they found absolutely nothing. It was like she had just vanished into thin air. Her family, feeling completely helpless, started doing the only thing they could think of, handing out missing person flyers. Right from the jump, the investigation got weird. Get this. While he's out there handing out flyers for his missing stepdaughter, Carly's stepfather bizarrely asks Clark for drugs. Talk about strange, right? Naturally, the police are suspicious. They bring him in for questioning, but his alibi checks out. Then, he points the finger at a family friend. But that's a dead end too. The guy was at work. So, just like that, investigators are right back where they started. Square one. The case was completely stalled. No leads, no witnesses. So the police had to think differently. They needed a different kind of witness. One that couldn't forget, couldn't lie. Because it wasn't a person. It was a recording. And really, think about it. With no witnesses, no real leads, how on earth do you find her? Where do you even begin looking when there's nothing to go on? Well, the breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Police canines. They followed Carly's scent right along the shortcut she always took. And the trail just stopped. It went cold right in front of a local car wash. So investigators immediately got their hands on that security footage, just hoping for any kind of clue. What they found? Well, it confirmed their absolute worst fears. The grainy footage is just chilling. You see this man, he's wearing a mechanic's uniform, walk right past Carly, then he stops, turns back, says something to her, and then he just grabs her by the arm and yanks her away. The look of shock and pure terror on her face it's just unmistakable. And in that one moment, this case changed. It wasn't a missing person case anymore. It was a violent, confirmed abduction caught on tape. As horrifying as that footage was, it was also the first real break in the case. The police knew exactly what they had to do. They released the video to the public, and almost immediately, the phones at the station started ringing off the hook. And so many of the calls said the same thing. The man in the video? That's Joseph Smith. Now, Smith was a local mechanic, but he also had this long, ugly criminal history going all the way back to 1993, a history that included assaulting women. And here's the really chilling part. He had only recently been released from prison. Suddenly, it all started to click into place. The guy in the video is wearing a mechanic's uniform. Joseph Smith is a mechanic. The guy has these really specific tattoos on his arms. Smith has the exact same ones. When the police finally brought him in for questioning, they found something else. Fresh scratches on his hands. Of course, Smith denied everything. He tried to build an alibi, saying he was home all night. And at first, his housemate's wife even backed him up. But that story fell apart, and fast. Her husband told police, no, that's not true. Smith was out all night. Then came another blow for Smith. His own mother saw the video and identified him. You can just feel the net tightening around him. But the final nail in the coffin? That would come from his own brother. And with that, the search for Carly Brucia was about to come to its tragic, heartbreaking end. All the fears the community had been holding on to, they were about to be confirmed in the worst possible way. So, just 5 days after Carly disappeared, Joseph Smith's brother, John, does something incredible. He walks right into the police station. He tells them his brother, Joseph, confessed to everything. He said Joseph told him he'd abducted her, assaulted her, and killed her, but was so high he couldn't remember all the details. John then led the police to a wooded area behind a local church, and that's where they found Carly's body. At that point, the forensic evidence was just overwhelming. The cause of death was strangulation. They found Joseph Smith's DNA on Carly's body. They even found Carly's hair in the car Smith had borrowed that night. There was absolutely no doubt who did this. It didn't take long for a jury to find him guilty. On October 24th, 2005, Joseph Smith was sentenced to death. He would never see the outside world again, and he ended up dying in prison in 2021 before that sentence could actually be carried out. So as far as the legal system was concerned, the case was closed. Justice was served. But the story, the tragedy, it was far from over. The ripple effects from this one horrific act would continue to tear through Carly's family for years. What Carly's mother, Susan, went through in the years after is it's almost unimaginable. She lost her own father to cancer, then her brother was killed in a car accident, and her young son was in a near-fatal accident of his own. It was just one tragedy piled on top of another. The weight of all that grief became unbearable. And in 2017, Susan herself died of a drug overdose. And all of this leaves you with one really heavy question, doesn't it? How many lives are truly destroyed by a single monstrous act? The murder of Carly Brucia was one crime committed by one person, but its impact didn't end with her. It's just a devastating reminder that one act of violence sends out these shockwaves of trauma that can shatter a family for generations to come.